Bilic will either be gone by January or April at the latest.
I think the chances of going up have improved with Bilic in charge.
So for me, I think Rob Edwards going to Cardiff would make sense. I just don't think Cardiff have got the sense in the background to go out and appoint someone like Rob Edwards.
He's Welsh as well, isn't he? I think. Rob
Well,
Edwards.
yeah.
So yeah, there's another box ticked right there as well.
Blind faith, Ryan. Blind faith.
That is, I cannot disagree more. Now that period is out the way, Coventry really need to kick on. If they're still in the same position, Justin, in 6 weeks' time, then Mark Robins could be under serious pressure. He's also a big fisherman, isn't he? Which on an island would be perfect, wouldn't it?
Exactly, that's my thinking. Give a man a rod, you eat for weeks, is the saying, I think.
When it comes to getting coconuts from trees, he can reach up for them and, knock them off with his head or do a scissors kick. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Stopwatch. It's the topical championship show with a little twist. It's 5 topics, a 2-minute timer, and 2 hosts. We're Ryan and Justin from the Second Tier Podcast. Let's get right into it. Justin, after the first international break, what's your most concrete prediction for the remainder of the season?
That teams will suffer a lot of injuries over the next month. That's pretty of an easy one, but considering there's a lot of games to be played, the teams, I think, will rack up a fair few injuries. But I think a less obvious one for me is Bristol City. I think they will make a charge for the playoffs. I think they will be in a good position going into the World Cup period and then finding themselves, when we get to sort of December, January time, in a position to make a full assault, add to the squad in January and make an assault for the playoffs, because I don't think there are that many teams that are consistent enough, and I think Bristol City are one of those teams that can level out because they've got a very good attack and they just need to improve their defence.
So out of every single prediction you could make in the championship, that's your most concrete, that a team who are famously streaky could get into the playoffs?
Absolutely. Blind faith, Ryan. Blind faith.
That is, I cannot disagree more. I've always said with Bristol City, they've been in great form recently prior to the international break, but they will almost certainly follow it up with a run of games where they don't win, because that's what Bristol City do. They have a good run of form and then they follow it up with a not so good run of form. And I still don't think this squad is strong enough to have a decent attempt at getting into the playoffs for me. Still don't rate Nigel Pearson that much as a manager. I've got plenty of doubts about that Bristol City team, but you've got your own opinions, Justin. Fair play to you. My most concrete prediction is Bristol City not to finish in top 6. No, it's I'll probably say Sheffield United to finish in the top 2, just because they look absolutely fantastic. Paul Heckingbottom has turned them into a really, really fantastic unit. Plenty of squad depth all over the pitch. Even players who weren't in great form before are now playing like it's not been a problem before. Ryan Brewster, Ollie McBurney, both have struggled in Sheffield United shirts, but have suddenly hit green patches of form out of nowhere. They've had injuries and dealt with them. It's not fazed them at all. And they've still got players to come into the team, like James McAtee, for example, is a really highly rated player on loan from Man City and has barely had a chance so far. They're just a fantastic side, have blown teams out of the water so far, Justin, and I struggle to see them finishing outside of the top 2, really.
Completely agree with that. That's probably more concrete than my prediction. And if you base it purely on the depth that the Blades have got and their defensive consistency, just can't see them finishing outside the top 2, because if they keep keeping clean sheets, they're at least going to draw every game, but they've got the talent in attack and creativity in midfield to do some special things. So yeah, it's difficult to see them dropping out of that top 2.
Yeah, and Ndiaye, Ahmed Dozovic, Norwood, Berger, all have been absolutely amazing so far, without a doubt. If we had to make a team of the season right now, I think half of it would consist of Sheffield United players, wouldn't it? Justin, what's next topic?
Speaking of concrete predictions, do you think Watford will sack Slaven Bilic? Only kidding. Do you think Watford will get promoted under Slaven Bilic?
Right now, I'd say no. I do think their chances of going up have been slightly improved. Now, I don't think that is necessarily me saying they were right to sack Rob Edwards. I think it's a bizarre decision to sack Rob Edwards, especially because of what they were saying about him having enough time to show that he's the right man for the job after 10 games. It's just utter nonsense. However, I think Slaven Bilic he's got a solid record in the Championship. He's only had the one season with West Brom, but he got the best out of that team. And I think the players there will suit him more than they would have done under Rob Edwards. So I think the chances of going up have improved with Bilic in charge. I think that he's a good manager. I still think there are teams who will have better shouts, though. One of them being Sheffield United, Norwich, Burnley have looked very good so far as well. There are at least 3 teams, maybe even a couple of others, who I think are looking more likely to go up than Watford. Justin, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't think they will. I think Bilic is going to run into the same issues that Rob Edwards has run into, i.e. not being able to progress the ball through the midfield, the lack of creativity at wing-back, in the wing-back areas as well. Rob Edwards had those issues, and Bilic is going to run into the same ones because he wants to play a similar style of play, albeit more possession-based rather than pressing. I think Louza coming back is going to improve the midfield, but Watford are relying heavily on 2 superstars and an incredibly good gifted player in Louza, which strikes a lot of similarities to his West Brom team that fell away towards their promotion season in 1920 season. They had Pereira and Diangana, who were special that year. I think the likes of Charlie Austin, Zahor, can't remember the other 4, was Hal Robson, Kanu. I think they only managed 10 goals each. They weren't scoring a lot of goals and creating a lot of chances either. So for me, I just can't see it, and I think Bilic will either be gone by January or April at the latest. For me, that's my over concrete prediction, I think.
Justin, who do you think is the perfect fit for the Cardiff and Rotherham vacancies? Shall I take one? You take one. Which one do you want to have a go at?
I'll go with Cardiff. It's the easier one, I think. I'll go with Rob Edwards. It's as simple as that. And I know he's just coming out of the Watford job, but if you look at the personnel that Cardiff have available to them, that squad's ready made for it, for what Rob Edwards wants to play in terms of his style. He's got I say a range of forwards. He's got the personnel, I think, in the final third to get what he wants, to get what he needs. But he's got that midfield base of he's got players who can play a high press and win the ball back. But he's also got very good playmakers. He's got Romain Sawyers, who's one of the best progressive passers in the Championship in recent years. And as well as that, he's got a tidy defence as well. So for me, I think Rob Edwards going to Cardiff would make sense. I just don't think Cardiff have got the sense in the background to go out and appoint someone like Rob Edwards.
I mean, you make a very good point. Why wouldn't they just get Rob Edwards in? Because that would tick the boxes, wouldn't it? He's Welsh as well, isn't he? I think Rob Edwards. Yeah. So yeah, there's another box ticked right there as well. Yeah, if he wants to get back into management straight away, not sure he would do, because quite often managers, when they get sacked, like to take a bit of time out. Mm-hmm. But he might fancy the chance of getting straight back into a Championship job. So why not? He was obviously a better position than he was in, 6 months ago, isn't it? Considering he was in League Two. So yeah, why not give him the job? The Rotherham vacancy's quite a difficult one, isn't it? Because they're obviously setting the bar quite low with the managers they're looking at. Mark Bonner was the one who has been linked with the job, but reportedly he's already rejected it, which is not a great start when you're being rejected by a manager in League One, is it? So the other person who's been mentioned is Matt Gray, who is at Sutton United, which makes sense. He's managed to get Sutton doing very well in League Two, and that's on a very small budget compared to some League Two sides. And he'll have to do exactly the same again at Rotherham, won't he, if he does get the job? So that would be the obvious one for me. I think whoever comes in knows straight away that they're going to be up against it with this Rotherham team, because they have got such a small budget compared to other sides. They've just got to continue what Paul Warne's been doing, and that's make them work harder than any opposition teams they come up against. So yeah, Matt Gray would be the one for me from Sutton United. I think that makes sense. But any other manager who, as I say, ticks the boxes of knows how to work with a budget, and is also a young up-and-coming manager, because that's what Rotherham have got to go for, isn't it? Justin, what's the next topic?
Who do you... with 11 match days in the next 6 weeks before the next break, for which side is this period most important for? A lot of games we played.
Yeah, a lot of games to be played, and none more so than at Coventry City, because Coventry have really, really struggled recently, haven't they? They've had a
Mm.
terrible start to the season. A lot of that has been down to the pitch problem that they had, where they couldn't play home games, and that meant that they were also behind other teams in getting match fit. So now that that period is out the way, Coventry really need to kick on, because I have been worried about how results have been so far. My instincts are telling me there are at least three worse teams than them in the division. So I'd be surprised if they are in serious danger of going down in 6 months' time or so. But you can't rule it out. So this has got to be a massive, massive period for Coventry. They've obviously got to play a lot of games anyway, because every championship side has. But now they've got the added games from the start of the season, which they couldn't play because of the pitch. So they've really got to, take this challenge and head on and just go for it, really, and see an upturn in results. Because if they're still in the same position, Justin, in 6 weeks' time, then Mark Robins could be under serious pressure, because fans won't be happy with them still flirting with relegation after 2 months of the season, or 3 months, whatever it is. Justin, who do you think?
I think Reading and Birmingham come into my thinking. And the reason why, my rationale behind that, is the teams with the lighter squads need to get through this next period. Because it's a mini season in a sense, 11 games in 6 weeks. It's a lot of football to be played, and it's almost a business end type of scenario where there's a lot of games, and those teams with the smaller squads, with the slightly older squads as well, maybe players that have picked up a lot of injuries in the past, they start to get found out. So if you look at the likes of Christian Bielik at Birmingham City, for example, is he going to be able to play 11 games in 6 weeks? I don't know. Mark Roberts has already been ruled out for, I think, 3 to 6 weeks, as mentioned by John Eustace. So there's already an issue there potentially. And it's about getting through this period, making sure you get 5 or 6 wins on the board, and then going into that mini pre-season, that break for the World Cup in better nick than perhaps you went into this next period. So Reading and Birmingham come into my mind because they've got the smaller squads. They've got the teams that have the players that have a little bit more injury prone, shall we say. It's making sure they come out of this period in a better state than when they went in.
And finally, Justin, it's second tier retro time. This is where we look back on the greatest and possibly worst from Championship history. And the question is this week: if you were stuck on an island with one player from Championship history, who would it be?
I'm going with Jimmy Bullard. And that's Jimmy Bullard before he became a household name. Jimmy Bullard when he was really funny. Now he's a bit cringe. I still like him, but he plays up to it a bit. But when he was at Wigan, Jimmy Bullard, his Wigan days, when he's jumping over goalmouth scrambles, when he's when he's pulling up his shorts over his shirt, just when he's in top form, before he became a household name, that for me, it's got to be Jimmy Bullard.
He's also a big fisherman, isn't he? Which on an island would be perfect, wouldn't it?
Exactly, that's my thinking. Give a man a rod, you eat for weeks, is the saying, I think.
Do you think he might be a bit irritating though, whether it's just you and him on the islands? Like after the first, few days, it'd be interesting, but after a while, you'd be like, give it a rest, Jim.
It's a good point, because he did get kicked out of the jungle first, didn't he, as well, when he was in the I'm a Celeb jungle.
I completely forgot he was in I'm a Celebrity.
So maybe we'll get on my nerves.
Yeah. Not sure about that one, Justin. And I'd go for Andy Carroll. The reason for that is because he's a legendary party animal. And I think that would be, keep me entertained while we're stuck on an island together for the foreseeable future. But also because he's got a fantastic leap on him. And I'm thinking if things are really struggling, then when it comes to getting coconuts from trees, he can reach up for them and knock them off with his head, or do a scissors kick to knock them off. And he just seems like he'd be a good laugh.
Yeah, and I think as well, if you setting up a shelter, you need plenty of headspace to fit him in, and he's going to be able to hook leaves. I don't know. I didn't do Duke of Edinburgh, so I don't really know, but you need to hook leaves to make a good shelter so they don't get wet during rainy season. So, he's going to be able to get that shelter quite high.
Yeah. I think good shouts here, Justin. There we go. Another episode of Stopwatch sorted for the week. Thank you for watching. Let us know in the comment section below which player you would like to be stuck on an island with and any other questions that we answered here. But this has been the Stopwatch. Please subscribe for more content like this and make sure you like the video as well if you enjoyed it. This has been the Second Tier Podcast, boys. Second Tier Pod at Twitter. Ryan Dilks 1, Justin Peach 27. We'll be back again very